RPA? Simple. I mean, it's basically trying to simplify an activities which is performed by a human, right? Which is mundane in nature. Let's say you have data which is coming from one application, and you have to load that information to another application. So rather than you a human doing that job, it is done easily by a robot, right? That's what it is intended to do. Okay, so it uses basic basic coding and basic development which through which the RPAs are being performed, and that has been the use cases across. Okay, so it replicates the human way of doing things. It has its own login ID. I remember we creating some of those login IDs, having those exclusive desktops. If you have VDIs or virtual desktop engines, so you can do those, or else you have to set up some servers exclusively or in cloud these days, right? So I remember doing those, setting up how these were done across. And then rule-based process. If your process is clear from step A to B to C to D, so then it easily operates in those steps. And across the different systems, it could be upstream or downstream. It could be with the it would be with the ERP, it would be with the web, and it cuts across the different platforms. And any kind of a digital sources, it comes handy, right? So I have seen in our banking environment and other environments where the files are coming in different forms and shapes, and RPA comes really handy with their capabilities. Yeah, this is what a typical RPA would do for us. And what can robots, basically bots, right? We call bots. That's the difference between robots or bots, what we do. So what else they could do today is like it does any kind of repeated tasks, which ideally not required to be done by a human, right? Because we as a human, we are meant to have more cognitive understanding. And if we end up doing more repeated tasks, I mean, probably we are not worth that particular task. And that's where bots really helps us to improvise on the performance and the accuracy and everything. It would be performing multiple tasks at the same time, doing different things, virtuals integrating with different systems, automating the entire data extractions. Also, this is very important and critical these days. Why people are deploying bots is the audit, some kind of understanding or validation is easier and faster when it comes to audit. In terms of human, it's quite challenging sometimes, but with bots, it becomes more faster and easier. Also, it leverages the product management and also manages the technical part of it. So don't need to worry about so much about it. And then the quality assurance, because of poor quality, a lot of organizations spend QC checks, quality control, quality assurance. These are minimized completely with the bots. Last but not least, it also helps us in forecasting the different revenues. So these are a lot of large capabilities and the advantages of having robots, right? Now, there would be next question for most of us. Okay, good, Raman, that you spoke about what is RPA and how it's benefiting. But how do we identify which are those specific themes of activities typically would fall in the scope of an RPA? So these are some of the themes you could read on the screen, right? If you know there is an activity which is repetitive, as I mentioned, repetitive in nature, the rules are not changing often. It's quite a straight through process. Typically in the industries we use as STP, right? So that's the terminology we use, where if it's not having any multiple touch points, having less exceptions, right? Any activities which could be done from done by multiple times without much cognitive thinking, right? And you are responsible to understand the in the situations where you have to copy some of the information from multiple systems. Even all those typical situations fall under this category for an RPA, right? But I mean, sometimes it might be challenging for someone to exactly define whether these processes are falling in scope or not. At that time, you should engage the right SMEs who have experience to know whether these will fall under the scope of RPA or not. But at a high level, these are some ground rules when you want to identify a typical RPA capability, which could be your part of your business case. Yeah. Now moving on. Typical, if you look at a process of manual process, how an RPA is done, right? You have a human who will be logging into the system for placing a purchase order or request order or any kind of a request or change requests you could call, in different industries. And then the requests are confirmed. then this purchase order PO is validated. Okay, you can think about change request also. You can think about incident ticket also, right? And then this human would, the person would apply the discounts and pricing whatever on the specific contract based on that contract. And then if there are any additional rules to be applied, the protocols to be followed, it's done, and then purchase order is shipped and invoice is also sent with some, probably there are some errors and mistakes which could happen because of human intervention. But if you look at the RPA, it's almost does a straight through activities, except for one situation where it has to human probably needs more cognitive thought process to be done, and that's where only this particular box you see in the bottom, this is where they would involve a human to do this. I have seen this kind of a tool. I went to attend a BFSI event in Chennai, and there was a such set up by Economic Times. They showcased how Salesforce has deployed this model. A live example we saw where bot is automatically coming up with the, when a customer calls up to a sales representative, the call is picked up, the person is busy in talking, conversating, having conversation with the customer, but on the hint side, the bot is generating the information about the customer, because the person would have keyed in their their customer ID or something. Based on that, it will throw, these are the old complaints, what is the customer profile, and it says it might be this reason, might be the old, it might be old complaint or some kind of other information it populates. So these are innovations which are happening in RP along with the latest technologies, right? So I pause in case of if there are any questions in the backdrop, if anything you want to ask me. Okay, all okay? Shall I proceed? Good. Okay. Okay. So now the next question comes, what are the different types of bots typically we have, we'll end up engaging with, right? So there are bots. With the previous example I showed, it's a kind of a attended bot where we need some amount of human intervention. I spoke about the call center for an example, and there are unattended robot, right? Where it's a plain vanilla activity. So you don't need any intervention. It goes through. And there are hybrid workforce, multiple bots, which are attended and unattended. It's a mix of it. So these are probably at a very high level, or a kind of a environment where you have a lot of different dimensions of delivering work, right? For different products or for different customers, different regions. So these kind of hybrid workforce gets operated in this kind of third category. So there are these 3-4 categories which applies for types of bots. Okay. So we spoke about RPA multiple times, and there are some of the examples of manual versus RPA, and then what are the steps. Can I know from the audience, before I jump into the benefits of RPA, what you think? Probably you have experienced, heard a lot of things about RPA. Can I know something from the audience? What could be those activities, or the benefits of RPA other than the regular ones, right? What do you feel which has been a value add in your organization, in your team? Where did you feel that this is beneficial? Something on the chat, or if someone wants to speak, they can speak. Anyone in the audience? Or is it bots? All 13 bots are here, or is it humans who are with me today?
We really encourage participation from the batch. Please make this session more interactive.
Because I don't want to sound like a monologue, or else it become like FM radio to most of you. You're just hearing. I know. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, this is Sapna.
Hi, Sapna.
RPA helps in generating more accurate data than human. It's automated.
Absolutely.
And
I mean,
less
great.
time, because if the system, we have any systematic process, then it's already like we can create a bot using that, and then it would be it would be done in much lesser time.
Wonderful. One is the accuracy, and then the time part. Well said. Well said, Sapna.
I think RP can work 24/7.
Absolutely. There's no one to stop the bot unless we have to go and stop it.
Right.
Great. Any other thoughts from anyone in the group? Or has anyone seen different impact of RPA? Chat GPT, yes. Sri Lakshmi, thank you. Yeah. Okay, if there's other benefits, you do put it on the chat. Okay. So yeah, when working across multiple systems, Avanish says that X logs and log analysis across disconnected systems. Wonderful. Great thoughts. I think some of you are already expert in the RPA and know what's happening in the market. Well, no, glad to know that. Okay, so if we skim through what are the specific benefits, one is the greater visibility, auditability. I think we spoke about the accuracy and other things. So more control are being enabled in terms of the robots, okay, bots. And then next comes in terms of seasonal demand. So what happens is when you have high volume, it's still then still could be easily managed with a very limited cost. Whereas when you look at the human side of it, right? I have seen some of the operations floor where if there is a extreme high peak volumes, then you have to literally hire contractors, right? And then you have to train those contractors, and then you have to get the things done. Imagine the accuracy of it when you are having the peak volumes, the quality, and the turnaround time. These have a major impact on your overall performance. So very important that the benefit of this of RPA is also managing the seasonal demand. Yeah, Shantanu says also about data integration and report generation. Absolutely. Thank you, Shantanu. Okay, moving next, increase productivity, which already Sapna spoke about the turnaround time, quickly, how easy, availability of 24/7. Whereas humans, right, we have labor laws, right? We have bot laws, robotic laws, mostly on the infosec, right? So that the information is not stolen and they have been managed a certain way. But otherwise, there is no any rules and restrictions for bots. Whereas in a labor world, today being a labor day, right, we have a holiday, but bots don't have a holiday, by the way. Okay, so they could operate anytime. And earlier those days, I remember deployment of these bots used to be a challenge. The reason being they were very naive, and a lot of I'm talking about in 2000, probably in early 2015, 16 around, where they were deploying, but people were asking for more proof of concepts. Some industry, let's say pure BPO, pure call centers, they have gone ahead, but a captive center or a pure product company, they were thinking whether should we do it or not, because let's say we deploy it, what will be the delay, but now I think all this have become more faster and cheaper with the lot of markets opening up, a lot of players around, right? And customer satisfaction, CSAT survey, if you do NPS score of some of the industries, I have seen the benchmarkings from Hackett's and from the Gartners, whoever have deployed these, they see a higher CSATs for most of these industries. Yep. Moving on, higher staff satisfaction, because imagine if someone has been doing a same monotonous job for a while, just for a joke side, right? Basketball, most of you know the basketball game, right? Earlier, it's probably some 10 decades back or 6 decades back, exactly, I don't know, the basketball used to be a basket. One guy would climb up the ladder and would hold a basket. Someone puts the ball into basket, he'll come down the ladder and then give back the ball. So this used to be the basketball strategy. Imagine the guy who was climbing the ladder holding the basket, if he had thought that, if we cut the basket, make it as a net and remove the ladder, my job would have gone, right? He would have never become a, he wouldn't have been able to do other jobs. So that way, I mean, innovation, we should think about it that these are basically trying to remove the repetitive tasks which are not meant for humans, right? When we engage humans for a repeated task, and logically also, scientifically also, people tend to do mistakes also when it's quite repetitive nature. You might end up doing errors because you are not that cognitive. You don't need a cognitive knowledge. Simple example of this is, right, a route from your home to office. Any day, have you, like, right, any one day you felt you have to take a different route, where you're not more cognitive thinking about, okay, where should I get, should I see a Google map or should I ask someone? So that's the difference between leveraging your cognitive right, brains, and then doing the regular, like if you're going a regular route, the same way is the regular job. So moving on to that is very important. Okay, non-invasive nature. So disruption caused to, on the underlying other systems are also minimized in this situation. Okay, so these are also being managed through the RPA. Last but not the least, consistency, right? We remove the elimination of operational risks. Okay, this is one of the key parameters where most of the cash rich organizations are focusing on the error free or less operational risk activities of RPA, and that is the major reason for most of them shifting to the RPA. Okay, so moving on to the other side of is the story, that last but not the least, I think we also heard in the start of the call that no complex coding. You don't need to really code or deploy, do differently. It's ready to do. No low coding, no coding. So that kind of an environment, you can easily deploy an RPA. These are the major benefits of the RPA overall. Okay, we move on further. How now? I mean, we are going into a era where, especially post COVID, AI has been so instrumental in bringing in different thought process and different ways of doing things, and RPA is also part of it. It's not just that, even some industries are into it, right? RPA is also a clear runner in this particular situation. From RPA to AI, how do we integrate with AI? What is AI typical? Because AI is a vast world. Everyone is talking about AI these days, right? You talk, even a smallest of a graduate who is passed out from a college or a university, they're also talking about AI. But what is this AI? How this is related to RPA? What we could do in this area? What are the advantages? What are the capabilities? That's what we're going to do. Look into the next slides on the RPA as an intelligent automation beyond RPA. Okay. So this is from the Werner Winch is one of the professors and scientist from San Diego University. He has been researching a lot about this AI and everything. He's saying the profound potential of AI will transform every industry. Every industry is going to be transformed literally. And sometimes we might fear, if AI is going to take over our jobs, what will happen? The basketball analogy I use, you might be more leveraged for more cognitive work, which are more helpful for you, rather than worrying. Those days we used to imagine, if we used to think, if I am just an Excel developer or Excel coder, today look at the Excel has transformed into different data streams, right? Into different data. We used to do in pivots. We used to copy the data into Excel, run a pivot table, then do a pivot graphs. But look at today the capabilities of this data analytics and data science, where it has gone. The same way, every industry will go through a massive change. Okay, like look at the pager. We used to use pager to send messages. Do we use today pagers? No, we don't use those. So technology, people, we have to evolve and appreciate and move on. Okay, being adaptive is the most critical element. So what has happened? If you look at in 90s, PCs used to have a lot of change which used to happen. In 2000, then web came into the picture. Y2K series and all those happened. And then 2010, mobile smartphones entered our market. Now AI has entered us across in every part of it. Okay, so that way we are having more computing power. The digitalization has gone amazing, right? Even you go to a street vendor, a kind of a who is not tech savvy, who doesn't know about smartphones, he has to just keep a QR code and digitization happens. That's the kind of the advantage we have today with the AI and digitization, right? And algorithms is not just about what we have to define. It also the computer like how you compute, it also picks up its own algorithms and it just asks for validation. So there are different streams of AI which has been drastically changing our thought process for a while now. Yeah, we have to adapt and move on. And as per Gartner is one of the benchmarking organizations, research organizations who publish a lot of happening things across the world, across the industries. So among all the strategic technology, hyper automation, what we're talking, the AI with RPA is nothing but hyper automation. And as per them, RPA is something with the hyper automation going to change the world. And that's how it's going to transform the way we operate, the way we live, and what we deliver. So what they feel, as per the research paper, what they feel is we would need humans only for those critical tasks where customers are specifically asking, they want human interaction specifically for those things. But otherwise, if the front end, probably today we are saying CRM, right? Other than that, or let's say face-to-face interaction, other than that, they really care. They don't care about, do I have to does my activity, does my transaction, does my volume, or does my product goes through a human intervention, or does it go through, in the back end by someone else? So they don't mind at all. So what matters is what is the quality, what is the performance, what's the turnaround time, right? That has been the key, and hyper automation is going to play a major role in it. Okay. And in 2010s, right, earlier we used to have consumer based AI, and now it's now going into the workplace in different sets of the league. So not just about Gartner, Deloitte, Gartner, and PwC. What they are saying is, one is the which we spoke about, the benefits. It's about expanding organizations across end to end. I'm going to talk about agile orchestration. This is a buzzword which is happening in the market. And then about the cost savings. How much cost pressures every organization goes through. Typically, major mistake which many organizations do is, right, when they hit a cost pressure, they drastically say, okay, we want to take a 20% cut on the overall headcount, or let's say I want to take, but they don't put a logical thought process, going detailed, understanding which are my manual process, where are the people who are having, unskilled laborers or skilled laborers, what is kind of my workload capacity. They tend to what I've seen, the transformations which have happened in the large organizations, they tend to do there will be a one big four or a kind of a big consulting firm which will come in. They say we have to drastically, we'll give you a report presentation in 3 months time. They'll prepare a report, you slot this kind of number of people and this many costs you have to save. But if thoughtfully, if in any organization which is growing from mid size to large size or small size to mid size, if they slowly deploy their energy and effort in these initiatives, in these kind of platforms, obviously they will not see a day where they have to literally, chop the hands and legs of the basically the organization. So it's kind of a thought which every leader has to evolve and think about it, rather than, imagine you have a garden at your home. Would you, just to clean up, do you cut all the trees? You wouldn't do that, right? You wouldn't cut the plants which gives you a fruit, flowers, which are trees which give fruits. Probably you'll cut the grass which are not required. You will clean up the other fallen leaves. So there are different perspectives to do it, and this is very important when you want to initiate these kind of initiatives. Okay. Any guesses? The which is the one of the organizations? Where you felt that they have extensively utilized AI, especially in the current world. Any guesses on the chat, or you want to speak up? Anyone? Can I hear something from the audience? Tell me any.
We have one response from Sanket.
Okay.
He mentioned Spotify.
Wonderful. Looks like Sanket, you listen often in Spotify. Good share. Thank you. Any other any other platform or any kind of the products used today which they use AI? I can give you one more example, but I don't want to give that. But let me hear from the audience. Anyone else?
Good inputs. Avnish mentions recommendation engines in most large online services stroke platforms. And Sanket has shared one more example, Grammarly.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. But great thoughts around. I'll give you one basic example. How many of you know Raymond's as a brand? Give me a thumbs up. Raymond's. You know Raymond's? Yeah. So no, earlier those days, you will go to a tailor, he'll make a measurement, he'll tell you, sir, you come after 1 week, we'll deliver your cloth. If it's a peak season, again 10 days, it varies, right? Now, if you go to one of the exclusive Raymond's showroom, I don't know how many of you visited, you have to go into a specific room. It will quickly measure your size and everything. Within 30 minutes to an hour, your dress material is ready. It's no more that you are push based organization, right? Imagine the apparel stores today. You're going in the market, right? They have XL, medium size, small size, and then it's a lot of cost for the organizations. These days you'll see a lot of bespoke shoes. I have seen a lot of those kind of organizations where they see your size, foot size, I have seen even ASICs doing that in one of the centers I visited in Europe, where they measure your shoe, they know the sole. Probably it might take few additional hours to prepare that kind of a shoe, but they would have most of the structures ready. So it's more becoming more pull based rather than the push based, and that's where the organization going through. Okay, so these are the changes which has been rapidly changing and evolving. Okay, moving on further. Am I audible to everyone, right?
Yes, Pushkar.
Yeah,
We can
thank you.
hear you.
Perfect. Okay, so now moving on further. So earlier those days, right? I mean, the RPA, traditional RPAs have been restricted. They think that, okay, it can do.
Uh, I believe he has faced some internet issue. He's joining back. Uh, just allow us a minute. Meanwhile, I highly encourage individuals to keep posting their questions in the chat. That will certainly help Pushkar to address all your inquiries, any doubts you have, or any specific use case you want to discuss. I highly encourage you all to keep posting your questions, your inputs over the chat.
Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, Pushkar.
Yeah. Okay.
Pushkar, we are also getting few questions in the chat. If
Yeah,
you can
please.
also keep addressing.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So we have a new question.
Yeah.
It has been posted by Sanket.
Okay.
Would like to know a roadmap to learn RPA and its implementation. Are there any groups which can help here?
Okay. See, especially on the RPA, right? There are some roundtables which are being organized by, I think I'll also pass over this ask Zivia to share some insights on this if they have anything. If not, there are also, if you focus on some of the big players on the RPA, right? For example, we have Automation Anywhere. We have also, I mean, Blue Prism. There are so many players. What they also try to do is they try to do a roundtable, and I also have seen some of these being set up by Fiki, CII. So they are the people who are doing it, and there are also some kind of Telegram groups. There are some LinkedIn groups. So probably post this call, I would work with the Zibia team to share those info with you, Sanket. Will that be helpful? Yeah, fantastic, cool. But I also remember these things happening in some of my industries where I worked. I mean, there are benchmarking, baselining companies, who would really engage with you and bring you on board, but it comes with a fees and charges. So that's also another option. But just happy to share. Probably post this call with some of you people. Good. Are there any other questions? Shantanu, are there any other questions? No, right?
No questions so far, Pushkar.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. I think I got dropped off in between. Okay, so I mean, if you look at AI, right? I mean, there are a lot of things which it could do, right? I mean, it talks about having those intelligent agents which could do all the deep data analytics, right? And also it does have a lot of these days, there are a lot of tons of libraries. We speak about libraries in these AI world, and especially when you talk about when you're deploying any new AI systems, or let's say Apache coding or Python coding, you get a lot of repositories. So all these have been made easier for us, so that it's drag and drop for us, and it does almost cognitive along with learning and problem solving. So you see a lot of AI stuff which is happening at the bottom, right? Predictive analytics. We have used so much predictive analytics that it's not about just looking at the past historical data, but itself, the system itself is telling me this can be the other prediction without looking into the historical data, because based on the current trend and whatever the information has been fed into. So that's the kind of machine learning and deep learning. Machine again, if you go further, I'm going to talk in the next slide the difference between the deep learning and the machine learning. Okay, then you have these options available, text to speech. Sometimes you have both the choices, like in some of the, I have seen it in the Uber, I have seen it in another 2 or 3 options where you can give a message over audio, it picks it up into the text. Okay, and then this is the generative AI. What is, again, generative AI is another topic which is going, it's comes in hand along with your deep learning. Okay, where it is also trying to generate the information. What is the logic of this generative AI? Why it's now picking up? In most of our coding languages and our learnings, it always has been binary for us, right? System always has been binary, but we have created this amazing AI world which goes beyond the binary way of doing things. Okay, where itself it will recognize different colors, different images, right? Also, not just it recognize, also generates back. Okay, these are the kind of you know generative AI things are happening across all the businesses. Okay, then language processing. These days language processing used to be so hard. I remember going to China in 2016 and 17. At that time, fortunately, we used to have WeChat in China, and it could, if I click an image in a WeChat, it could literally turn around and tell me, okay, this is what it is actually. Very fast and agile. And it is also trying to bring expertise in every system, planning and optimization, robotics. I heard one of the startups, you know the startup is looking at how to automate the entire the legal process of lawyers. Imagine a lawyer job is done by what typically a lawyer does. He knows for this particular clause what are the rules or IPC sections are applicable, and that's what is going to do. Is one of them startups are doing that. Imagine what our world will look like. Anil Kumble, by the way, I think most of you know it. Anil Kumble has analytics data, predictive data analytics on the cricket. So he has a team which predicts that based on the past history of the data, this bowler will be able to take wicket of this so and so batsman or not. So that is the amount of innovation and infrastructure has been created in our ecosystem, right? And any other use cases have you heard in the past or in the recent times? Specific use cases, I just want to hear from the audience. Anything on the chat? Specific use cases you have come across what I shared just now. By the way, how many of you use Zerodha? Anyone knows Zerodha? Have you used it? So they did develop one module of, yeah, thanks, Shantanu. They did use one of the modules which uses the AI, okay, methodology to arrive at the stock recommendations. But somehow, I mean, they disclosed or didn't disclose, and they are really doing into those aspects. So there are a lot of these organizations. And for example, if you, I don't know how many of you use Apple Watches. Apple Watches has enabled that if your heart rate is on so and so because of the historical trend, and then it realizes your body movement, and it will do an SOS, immediate SOS to your the key number, whoever like you have registered, or go to the SOS to the nearest health center. So these kind of some of the use cases which are coming in the market for the AI. Okay, if you have any other use cases you have heard on the group people here. Cadbury had launched, Shankit says, and featuring Shah Rukh Khan for My Company ad in Diwali. Okay, haven't seen. Would be keen to look into it. Any other specific use cases of leveraging these kind of, any other thought process from anyone? I will give you, by the time someone types, how many of you been to Disneyland? Okay. So if you're a regular customer to Disneyland, when you enter, and then there's an app which has been mapped to you, and based on your, you have to approve your location, and and your profile, it has been registered with that. It will recommend that in your past you've been to this particular activity of some rides, and your daughter did, or your son did play this, and they won some gifts or points. Why didn't you try this? And this is how they are trying to leverage even in the entertainment industry. Okay, so this is again another use case which I'm trying to share. Okay, I move on further on, talking about this AI, what's happening in the AI world. Okay, so there are three things, right? AI is the overarching, artificial intelligence is the overarching piece which covers the machine learning, and then there is a deep learning. Again, I mentioned AI is nothing but trying to replicate a human way of doing things, right? It would put some if and rules around it. It would leverage machine learning and everything to arrive at a particular action based on that. And what is machine learning, right? It basically, you're trying to create a algorithm. What is algorithm? I mean, probably algorithm is nothing but a kind of a y is equal to f of x. I don't know how many of you have remember your stats or maths classes in your past, right? Y is an output, x is the inputs. Basically, x are these variables which is influencing the outputs, right? So imagine you want to do a linear regression or quadratic equation or cubic equation or multiple regression. So you are assuming certain things, right? Imagine we also do that algorithm in our mind. Okay, how many of you probably you went on your, probably the marriage, there's a key dates, you gave interviews, or probably your birthdays or some special occasions, you felt that if I wear this t-shirt, it seems to be that success rate is high. Has it happened? Give me a thumbs up. Or probably you choose to wear this pair of shoes, or you tend to have eat some sugar and curd before you start the journey. That kind of algorithm have you built in our brains? Yes or no? Give me a thumbs up. Have you built any algorithms like that in your brain? Yes. So the same algorithms are being applied in the machine world. Okay. Where, and thanks again, Sri Lakshmi, for sharing Netflix. Absolutely. Netflix is doing that oftenly. And yeah, time to sleep. Time to sleep is another, situations which you get notified. And there are a lot of these kind of enablement which has happened with the invention of AI and the ML. Now, deep learning. Deep learning, again, basically it's being developed and delivered in the same way of how our brain operates. Human brain, typically the neural networks, how it is positioned, so that end of the day it can easily outperform humans. How many of you traveled in a Boeing, uh, the big Boeings, 707, right? Or Airbus? How many of you have traveled? Give me a thumbs up if you have traveled. Have you seen they use autopilot? What is it, right? How does it leverage? But they are asked to do only when the situation needs, or else it's not required to do. And I saw one of the forwards, or came to know, one of the pilot, I think it was a Google car, or I don't know, Tesla's one. It was riding independently without a driver, and then a cop, cop caught the car, saying, who's the driver? So these are the things which are happening drastically, leveraging the deep learning. Okay, and a lot of use cases are there in this case for how these are being leveraged across. Now, coming on, main difference between RPA and AI softwares. Basically, it's saying that RPA uses a basic rule based, but with AI, we are using more cognitive automation. That's what and that's where AI is trying to replicate as much possible of the human intervention. We are trying to minimize as much possible whatever humans could do. It's trying to replicate. You might ask, is it possible that we eradicate humans completely? Yes and no. There are some industries where drastically, we will talk about it, where drastically they are going without humans in many cases. And there are also industries where, you need some human interventions. Look at how many of you been to Japan? Just wanted to know. It's not to check your visa status, but or your travel, travel appetite. But how many of you have been to Japan? Just wanted to know. Anyone on the chat? Yes and no. Anyone been to Japan? I see no, yes, no, or no. Can you give me a shout or unmute? Sadly, no. Okay. Sonpal. Okay. Not yet. Okay. So if you get opportunity, do visit. Why I'm asking is I was in Japan some 10 years back, and what people say is they are way ahead, at least 10 years or 20 years of the world. There are no more small shops who are selling small things into the streets. There are vending machines which gives you a day to day, food, day to day coffee, tea, beverages. Everything is through the machines, vending machines. Hardly you need any kind of human interventions. And that's where you see in many corporates, you see vending, a lot of vending machines there. They are way ahead because we have so much labor force available today. But look at Japan, some of the countries in Europe, they don't have so much of labor availability, so they are literally moving towards that kind of an situation. So these are the things where bots are going to have a big say. So we are moving towards basic RPA, which could do data entry, aggregation, all this. And then we have something where intelligent RPA is coming, right? So everything is being done through that. And then we are going towards a deep human-like understanding and complex situations, not just on the thinking, but also on the acting side of it, along with the RPA. Okay. Along with RPA and AI, what has happened? RPA, if you look at it around, moving folders, copy pasting, sending emails, filling the forms, data, apps, capture tasks, scraping the data, web scraping, databases, everything is to be done on the RPA. But with AI, what has changed? Someone mentioned on the chatbot, right? Someone said about chat GPT. All these are being taken over by AI. Classify the emails, forms in the VDI, right? Semi-structured data, unstructured, whatever the data in the different forms and shapes, it does it literally. And also easily does mining of the process and tasks, or speech to text to speech. All these are being able to be possible in AI. Can you tell me when one platform which is, or one or two platforms who are able to do all this? Keeping aside your regular RPA, I'm going to share some of those insights. Does anyone know which platform does most of these at a very, I mean, based on usage, they charge you? And I'm really profound of that particular organization. Some more hint, they were in a different stream of business, but literally they are into now technology. They were never meant to be in technology, they are into technology. They never meant to be in entertainment, they are in now entertainment. Any guesses? Which organization or which company I'm talking about? Okay, good. This is okay. One more global company. Yes. So Amazon and Geo or Reliance, literally they are going into this piece, right? And thanks for sharing those insights. So Amazon, if you look at why this company was set up, it was meant to set up to deliver things from place A to place B. And if you read about Amazon much more deeper, they were looking out for talking to different technology vendors to help them to develop kind of a streamline their technology so that it could help simplify their day-to-day process of delivering goods to different customers. And then they realized, as they talk to many customers and look at more proof of concepts, POCs, they realized none of the vendors are able to do anything of that sort. And then they started developing in-house the capability of Amazon Web Services, which could help them fast track their products and supply chain. And as well as they started delivering different services, what we are talking today, right? Talk about chatbots or speech to text or text to speech, this data architecture, data stabilization, data analytics, everything they are able to integrate and provide in the cloud. And that's where also Reliance or Geo is entering into that market. So literally you never know which company gets into which sphere and where they try delivering. That's how the shape of AI is drastically changing in today's environment. Okay. Okay, we move on further from here. So AI is also enabling the automation of process. Okay. If you look at it, some kind of uncertainty where you have loan. I was in one of the NBFC meeting connects where they spoke about how to predict the loan defaults of this particular person, right? Or focus and property valuation. All these are also being done variation of, have you used, I don't know, I mean, there's one more upgrad, or there's one more up jobs which uses high amount of, even Naukri, I have started seeing Naukri.com using these capabilities of resume matching, right? The kind of key skills they want to add in, even LinkedIn is doing to a large extent. And also look at the unstructured data. So a lot of these are being enabled now and moving ahead. Some of the use cases you could see on the screen, which I am showcasing now. For example, looking at the some of these activities, right? You see on some of you are trying to do, let's say you are in a hiring, you are a HR. Anyone from here, HR? Here? Human resource, anyone in the group? No? Okay. So, and learning and development. Wonderful. Okay. So in typical recruitment, that's a space which is drastically becoming automated. Okay. And I remember one of my colleagues, I don't know, there was one of the Amazon series where a person is being interviewed by an AI, the specific questions are asked and that person responds, their body language is recorded, and it tells that this person is able to answer at least 80% with accuracy, and this behavior seems that he's not comfortable with answering that. That's the kind of automation of HR process with the AI. Okay. Example I just wanted to share. And also in learning and development, things have been changing. Probably, Sanket, you want to share any specific things have changed in the learning and development landscape? Any use cases, what has happened? Any ideas? Absolutely, predicting footfalls for the training, and the content curation, which content you want to deliver to the business, right? And I think there's a lot of transformations which have happened, especially in the L&D in past few years, which I'm seeing drastically. Okay. And then comes the healthcare. In healthcare, I'll tell you, there is I was in that one of the TED video, TED talks. I was a participant. I didn't deliver any, hopefully in near days. But in that, what happens in the healthcare, right? Typically, especially in the OTC, over the counter products, you have to go. A doctor will prescribe, say so and so reason. Let's say you have a headache. Typically, what do you go and buy a paracetamol. But there is a machine which has been done by MIT. MIT, one of the MIT professors, where there is a machine. The doctor would give you the permutation combination of those molecules, and at home you can literally create that, and it's a bespoke, literally a bespoke pill for you, rather than having a default pill. Because imagine the amount of customization happen, and that's where based on the AI, it's able to generate a specific pill based on your age factor, what specific problem you have, what are the other allergies you have. Based on it, generates a specific pill for you. And that's kind of the evolution which has happened in the healthcare. And there are other, like, claims and everything, or the claim processing, this has also been improved. Retail, I spoke about some of those examples. I don't know if there are Amazon outlets in US where you can go and you tell which product you want. There's a bot which will go and it'll pick up and it'll come and give it back to you. There's no need for you to go really pick it up. In financial services, I mean, it's becoming fully automated, right? Almost. Today, it's a click of a button. Based on the analytics they have, they'll give you imagine earlier days getting a personal loan, housing loan, so much of ruckus of a process, right? Look at now, you get a tip on in your mobile phone. You can just quickly request for a housing loan or a personal loan, because they have the data, they have the insights, they know what is the consumer behavior, and they're able to offer it, right? So like this, there are many industries, even in professional services. I spoke about the like a lawyer, even their job is being made in a legal cases. Everything is becoming more redundant these days. Now, cricket, how many of your cricket followers? I suppose most of you, right? There used to be a trend where there used to be a third umpire. Now this third umpire is also being outsourced to the systems, right? Isn't it? So this is how our profession, our activities, way we are doing, it's drastically changing. It's not, sometimes we might feel fear, but I would say appreciate the technology which is trying to minimize the human errors, right? Someone was commenting, I remember that, imagine this facility was available, Sachin was incorrectly was said out. I don't know if you follow Sachin or not, but in generally he was said out at least 60 times. Actually, he was not out. Imagine if we had that option today, Sachin would have done more centuries. Okay, jokes apart. So coming to the AI technology partners, and there are a lot of players in and around in the market. Okay, so if you look at, I'm sharing some of those here. I'm going to more talk about the benchmarks, who are the players in the market. So it will be more important for you to have a look at it, right? AWS, I spoke about, Google Cloud, IBM, Microsoft, and you see some of these organizations who are literally specialized in those areas. Okay, I will hopefully will be able to share some of these references with most of you. Okay, coming in now, how do you scale this, manage this AI along with the RPA, right? Simple, deploy which AI model, and there's a complete ecosystem, kind of a drag and drop, how much you want to consume, how do you want to manage. So most of these AWS and other corporate, other platforms are able to easily help you with these requirements. Okay, and this is kind of a framework which is typically used, right? You can choose a model based on the previous slide and deploy an AI ecosystem where you have to go through a consume, manage, improve, and deploy. So this is the cycle which it uses. And literally you have a choices to drag and drop which workflow you want to use. And there's a studio which you could leverage and plan around. I don't know how many of you use Udemy. If you're a content creator, you want to love to put some training materials, Udemy is another platform which uses, where you can play around their canvas and studio, right? And there are other few more applications which helps you to create this kind of studio kind of an opportunities through leveraging AI. And then there are bots which will help you to automate and help you improving those skills, right? And then there would be a human in end of it to validate if these models are useful, and then if it's good, then it improves further, and then again goes to the same cycle. This is kind of a typical structure of any kind of AI being deployed in your environment. Okay, these are some of the starter AI models which have been deployed. Document understanding, right? OCR and all those, right? Optimal research through the, to the, which are like your images, which is able to read it, and then language analysis, language detection, easy sentiments. These days, there are a lot of sentiment analysis easily done in a cloud way of doing it, right? Then open source, different language comprehensions, and others like Tableau data classification, image moderation, everything has been done. These are some of the starter AI models which you could consider. So when you look at roadmap, how do I establish, this might be a big question for most of you. Imagine you want to be a person who want to drive this RPA. I have done this for a couple of times as a program manager, as a deployment manager, as a user, as well as probably kind of someone who's driving this in the different business functions. Okay, so you start with a customer in mind and you scale it. Basically, you pilot it, look at it, then you transform, harmonize it, and then you extend. If you look at detailed initiatives which has been placed here, I would obviously share some of these materials as I mentioned, right? How this will help you. Basically, you set up a project charter, business case, right? What is the impact? Which are the processes into the scope of the work? How much of them are manual? So you have to do some initial scope of work. Probably that might take typically a kind of 2 to 3 months, depending upon complexity of the business. Okay, so you have to do, and there are also tools and platforms which are available. I'm going to talk about which could also do that activity, and then find how much you think you could scale, what are the amount of opportunities, and what are those pilots you want to do. Look at the use cases, proof of concepts, and then leverage some of these RPA tools, AI tools, which to help you to perform those, right? And then once you have done it, then you try to sustain it for a while. So you harmonize those, you orchestrate it, right? Where you could refer to different work with COE team, Central of Excellence, where you drive that culture with change management, and you also bring that how to fetch this new information, new data, working with different partners, integrate it, embed it. And then once you do this, then you extend to where you move towards, rather than just predictive, also you become prescriptive, looking at seamless end-to-end ecosystem of AI enterprise along with this RPA. Okay, this is how you would be able to drive a kind of a approach which is structured, stabilized, and a lot of organizations are doing it. Okay, but if you look at from a piecemeal, or you want to go in a much more looking at the automation, specific automations all in one platforms, you look at it, right? what typically you discover, which are those available in your stream, right? Typically they have, which I have mentioned listed here, like you have automation hub in the discover, you do task mining, task capture, process mining. There are a lot of process mining tools. Celonis is one of the process mining, Adonis is another process mining tool. Okay, these are examples I'm sharing, right? And then there used to be a tool called, which used for business process management, BPM. It's called Telelogic. It was acquired by IBM now. So like this, you have then build, you can build it through leveraging their specific themes, and then manage how much you want to do, then run it, then engage, and then measure. So this is kind of a cycle you could leverage when you want to deploy a pure automation programs. Okay, now looking at specific platforms, players, and benchmarks. I pause now in case of any questions from anyone. None? Okay.
No questions so far.
Thank you. Okay, this is very important and critical for most of you. I mean, you understood the about RPA, the best practices, what are some of the examples of benefits of RPA, how it is along with AI, how it is going, where is it going. Now comes about the who are the players and the benchmarks. So this is the maturity journey, right? You initiate, you industrialize, and institutionalize. This is how the things are moving towards. And typically you have to give certain time, right? The journey of deploying these typically takes 6 months to 8 months if it's a fast paced, very mature organization. But if it's a bit slower organization, for they are not that easy for standardization, they are not that easy for drastically bringing the change, then it might take around probably 18 months to 2 years. But if it's a big large organizations where you have different people in different regions, and they are not that change, they appreciate change, then it might take further at least minimum of 2 years. So it depends on the maturity of the organizations. Look at the maturity. Obviously you would need a right CTO, right team to really understand this before you literally deploy this. Okay, so there are a lot of efforts and time put into it. We're going to talk about the different roles which are being done also. Now the global RPA market is expanding drastically, and almost it's said that 1.5 billion is the market which has been valued in last year. And where are the biggest adopters? Are North America and Europe are the biggest adopters. Absolutely, I have seen this because of the raising cost, inflations. Many people want to deploy rather than outsourcing their tasks or businesses to a offshore or a nearshore or locations. They are looking at more automation in house, so that they know how much to automate. And also there's a labor community or labor laws which restricts them to outsourcing too much. So that's where this bots comes into the picture. And some of the beginners, when I say beginners, these are the startup companies or small firms, MSMEs. They on an average globally they spend around 900K on these deployments. And intermediate average spend on RPA has been around 4 million around. Okay, big large scale organizations who have a headcount of 30,000, 50,000 and above, they spend on average 10 million. So the projected opportunity which is reaching, and what they have did in 2022 was around 4.9 billion, and this is almost going 60% because of the costs which are increasing rapidly, the huge pressure on the from the investors. So we feel a great potential on RPA market. So more you could learn and understand RPA, it's gonna benefit you a lot, and you could be in the driver's seat of implementing this RPA. If you don't need to be a coder. If you're a coder, well and good, but what is needed for you is to understand the business model. How do you integrate, right? What are the scope of work, how much money you have? All this is going to drive the factor, right? You have a lot of developers, you have a lot of players in the market, but you should be very clear in developing that business case, making that business case, and talking to your CXOs and putting that across. That's going to drive the matter, right? More than anything else. Operational efficiencies, key drivers, FT optimization, as I mentioned, compliance, quality, TAT, also insourcing as a strategy. So these are the typical market forecast. And now looking at the maturity, I don't know how many of you are here in the FMCG world. Anyone in the FMCG world, or any or financial services, consumers, products, healthcare, manufacturing? Can someone put it on the chat? manufacturing, energy? Any of you here? Yes, no, or you're from a different exclusive different industry which it's not covered here? Can you put it on the chat? Is everyone with me? Consultancy, okay, wonderful. Sri Lakshmi, what about others? Which industry do you come from? Consultancy, wow, okay. Technology, wonderful. Shantanu, Sushant, consultancy. Any other industries here which are health insurance? Okay, wonderful. So healthcare is here, you could see. Financial services, okay. Sapna, Manchu, okay, good. So what I'm trying to set is that there has been a lot of, where is the RPA maturity? I mean, mostly it's trying to showcase based on the Gartner data, what we have, what we got. It says typically consumer retail, manufacturing, healthcare and energy, they're still in planning and implementing. The reasons are very straightforward. The reason being, you are a product-based organization. Product-based organization takes bit of more time, which are not virtual in nature, right? Those are physical goods you have. So literally that takes a little bit of more time. That's the logic behind it. And how much they are maturing, you look at financial services, probably someone mentioned in the chat, financial services. You would have realized that, you know, so much of maturity would have gone through the RPA, right? And telecoms also. And you look at the average spend, who is spending among most of them, right? Almost 28% technology, media and telecommunications are the big time. Tomorrow, imagine you want to become a RPA consultant. So that's the industry which you want to focus upon. Just a hint, okay? And financial services. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus on other industry. Probably the more use cases, you might be a right person to build more use cases for them, or you might be in the critical, because they want to do more planning. So it's also a good experience for you to be there, right? Again, after that comes consumer products and retail, then the healthcare, then the manufacturing, then the energy utilities. So it's correlated almost, the amount of maturity in these industries and also the average spend of these. Okay, comes next.
Pushkar, one thing, we have
Yeah.
Danyal Sahu.
Okay.
Accidentally, he sent me a direct message. He belongs to telco industry. If you can also cover that, if there are any use case around that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, teleco. I will talk about. There is in a Dubai at Ethlisat. I remember one of the use cases. Literally, they have this. I am talking when I was in 2018 in Dubai. They have literally taken off. IVR has been there for last so many years, but along with that, IVR and in terms of real-time chat responses, they have literally automated. You go to a particular kiosk, and there you stand in front of them. It scans your eye retina, and then you have to give your thumbprint, and immediately a SIM is generated for you. That's kind of the automation they have gone through. There is no necessary for you to stand in the queue. This is one of the use cases. Okay, there are some more use cases I'm going to share. Probably post this call, probably I can share more to that audience about the telecoms, what's happened in that region. Okay, now coming to the automation levels, industry best practices, very critical, right? So there will be some processes where you would have manual, fully manual. You can literally automate. If there are people, I have seen this in many, especially financial services, some of you are financial services, accounting, any industry, there will be an accounting department. Literally what they do, they match the invoices, they compare that to the actual to the PO which was generated, and they try to match and do. So these can be literally automated, I'm telling you. Okay, people attending to desktops, right? Batch wise activities, unattended, people managing exceptions, right? And then people training, you want to train those people on some specific tasks, the intelligent way of doing it, and then full end to end. So these are different, I would say 5 to 6 levels where you could deploy it. And again, each industry varies on these maturity levels, and these are the best practices where you feel. And again, there is a maturity assessment we have to do before you deploy RPA into your organization. So there are a lot of surveys which tells you, what would be efficient for you to drive, what type of bots, Do you need AI or you need basic bots? So you have to have real SMEs, and there are good industry players I'm going to talk about who could help you do this also, right? So here now, these are the top 4 or 5 big players who are into, as per the benchmarks and the studies which we have understood. And these are the players: Blue Prism, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Work Fusion, and IPsoft. And just sharing, and look at their infrastructure, and the kind of case studies they have, where they have deployed, and what they do, which sectors they have focused. So these might help you to understand which industries they have been. Telecom, for example, someone said right just now. So UiPath is something which might be of more help for you if you're doing more BPO and all. Blue Prism has been more in those industries. It's more why probably they have picked up these industries, because they have more use cases. So they would have evolved to adapt that particular industry. That's the only reason. But otherwise, there is no any specific segregation of why I should choose this platform. The more use cases you have, it's basically the experience of bot also matters. The more platform, I would be iterating that platform, I would be getting more use cases. You become more comprehensive to adapt and integrate with different requirements of that particular consumer requirements of that particular industry. So that's the logic behind it. Okay. And if you see cognitive capability, IPsoft Work Fusion has a high cognitive capability. If you have a lot of exception handling, if you feel a lot of thought process has to go into it, then these are the two uh, players in the market. And again, if you have focus on these verticals, again you can plug and play, and you can engage any kind of again, I'll showcase some of the other players who could help you understand which platform works well for you, rather than you choosing that, okay, based on your current situation and the maturity also. Okay. Now this is a high level structure, don't need to get mesmerized by this. Okay. So how does it interact? Architecture, control room, basically you have different data sources. Like for example, AWS can easily eat away all this, whatever you're doing today, or a Microsoft Azure platform if you are using a more Microsoft centric. Again, depends on what is your current strengths of your organization. And then you would deploy the bots which could really interact with these applications and platforms. Then you would have a bot creator, basically which would virtually support and work around basically a client system which would set up these. And then you'll have a control room which looks into the current architecture of, like how we say data architecture if you are from data background, right? And how this is, what are the workload, dashboard, audit trail, was there any failures, how to schedule those bots, what is the time zones, right? All these are being done with some of the company databases. You can also leverage the RPA's database. So these are something typically happens in the backend as an architecture of the RPA. Okay. And again, I know we are almost having 15 minutes. I'll quickly rush through. Probably I'll park some time for your Q&A. So latest developments in RPA means, again, business intelligence, easier implementation, enterprise grade scalability, control and maintenance, automation rate, and easy virtualization of your infrastructure. These are what is there meant for an enterprise. Okay. This is another critical slide. I really ask you to have a look at it, where if you have a business where it's more agent assisted. So there are 4 categories of automation technology: RPA, business process management, artificial intelligence, and OCR, optical reading, which is about reading about on what's happening, the image kind of architecture work you have to do, right? So in these situations, RPA and AI BPM would work around. In copy paste, RPA is good enough. In reconciliation, if your reconciliation where you're matching the accounts payable, receivables, accounting, and all those, or in a financial process, RPA AI is good. Dispatch, then you need RPA AI and OCR. Data entry, then you need all 4. Then if it's a chatbot, BPM AI should good enough. So these are some examples of where what automation technologies would be useful for you. Okay. Now the players which I spoke about, right? If you want to engage directly with a buyer, you have some capabilities or skills in your organization, like might be one of you who become a RPA expert or AI RPA expert. So you might directly go connect to these teams, businesses, right? Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, Triton, Kofax. Kofax is again a Canon based sub organization from Canon who are into it. UiPath. These are the big players. Whatever I have seen, mostly where I work, most of people have leveraged Automation Anywhere, UiPath, or Blue Prism. Nice is also another one which has been an old player. They're also doing it. They are good at BPM space, and also they are into now RPA space. If you want to leverage a business process services, right? BPS is business process services, where you could leverage these vendors who could tell you, guide you, what tool would be relevant, where you should go for. Okay, there's a list of companies you could see here, and then you have the specific system specialist system integrators. You feel you want to integrate with RPA, with other large technology, with ERPs and other things, then you have these organizations which could help you to do end to end to look into this. Yeah. Okay, and these are different roles in RPA, where you would have a chief RPA officer. Example, it might be, I mean, very soon I'm telling you, these days you have chief innovation officer, chief happiness officer. I'm telling you, very soon there will be someone who would be a chief officer of RPA, right? Who would look at overall structure and how to do it. And there will be a technical team who could really deploy these systems. So it depends on what role you want to play in these organizations. I have played literally almost into the executive and change management, to an extent the operational side of it. So you could be someone who is technical in it, or you could be someone who knows, understands very well when a bot is deployed. There's always a chaos in the business, right? Will my job go away? Will I become redundant? So how do you communicate that? What is the way to structure it? What are those opportunities you're going to talk about? Or you're going to make it more operational. You believe in operations, or a person who is into pure operations, then you can be a person who want to see how this is business compliant, how we could operationalize these RPAs. And there are some people who are really functional, who have a more product knowledge and understanding. They could become a functional RPA, a person or SME on these regards. So use cases, again, I am quickly running through an insurance, AG Insurance. They have using Blue Prism. There's a wonderful case study on assisting RP automation in infra and operational department. Then there's a Society General. It's a banking, right? Insurance in from France, who have leveraged automation anywhere in their IT systems, in UAT testing and everything. It's completely automated. Then there is another company called Le Bon Mosh, again from France, where they have deployed Blue Prism, where they have minimized their supplier invoices. Then there is a KBC, against the financial services. They have used some of the reduce their activity. They're Belgium based. Their governance, how they could set up a governance for this. They have leveraged RPA for that. Duracell, most of you know it. Duracell is one of the batteries which makes. They have leveraged UiPath in automating their warehouse management. Carrefour, I remember Carrefour used to be there. It's a FMCG where they would do all the kind of a products like how we have today, Mega Marts and Reliance Marts. So they have back end bank and back office process automations. Then there's another one, region Midland, UiPath. They have integrated service now. So there are a lot of use cases here, and again, I would be more than happy to share with you, right? So again, some of these are literally telling you it's possible, depend upon the USC and the time, the POCs you want to do and the time you have, and the investments which your organization could do. PDFs, let's say it could be PDF related activities where you want to literally automate that process, or different call setups you want to manage that, or it would be about pulling some images around, you want to automate that. So all these are feasibilities, use case.